This video is brought to you by the Farmer Klein YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Farming Simulator 22 Map First Impressions video. Today we're going to take a look at the Valley Farm. But before that, this video is brought to you by Alfredo and Jimmy Anderson. Thank you for being farm barons. So the Valley Farm map can be found over at the farmingsimulator.com website or the in-game downloadable content menu. And as of the 1.0 release, this map is available for all platforms. Let me read you some of the description. On this fictitious European style map with 45 fields, crops, meadows, vineyards, olive groves, and pastures, you'll have a choice between cereal crops, livestock, and you can participate in the development of industry and commerce in the region. A new crop has also been added in alfalfa. Farm aims to expand by buying the pig farm. To help with this heavy task, you can count on the new agricultural equipment dealer. Bulk sell point has been added, so you can buy fodder, lime, fertilizer, seed, mineral supplement, total mixed rations, and manure. You also have a choice of several sell points. To help finance your projects, you can go on the hunt for objects to collect. If you need water for your crops, you can draw it directly from the pond, and then the crop growth schedule is going to be the default schedule. Let's go ahead and load on in. Now, this map does have several required mods. So in addition to the mods that we use when we typically look at maps, which is additional field info, additional game settings, field lease, field calculator, and precision farming, we're also going to be using the Bavarian farm buildings, cow farm pack, greenhouse, as well as the large outdoor chicken coop, large pig pen, and then of course the map itself. I will tell you, if you load this map up in Farm Manager or start from scratch, you will find the main farm is built out exactly how you're going to see it here in New Farmer mode. In addition, you do have starting machinery in those alternate play modes. Now, you will have to buy the farm before you can actually get out of the sheds, because you cannot actually operate the doors on the buildings until you own the land. So if you tab into a vehicle, you're not going to be able to get out of the building until you actually buy it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the PDA itself. This is a slightly smaller than standard size map. Map is fairly circular in shape. We do have all the standard crops available to us in Farm Sim 22. In addition, we do have alfalfa as an added crop. Take a look at our lands area. We start up by owning Farmland ID 57. That is the main starting farm. That can go up for $523,000 in any alternate play mode. In addition, with Farm ID 7, we do have a farmhouse, but the farmhouse is located here in the town. Now, it is combined with 57. So if you own 57, you also own this farmhouse, and associated with the farmhouse is a small chicken coop. In addition to the starting farm, which is going to include sheep and cows, as well as chicken coop at the farmhouse, you can also buy another sheep area over here at Farmland ID 54 for $29,000. You buy a cow pasture at Farmland ID 40 for $66,000. You can buy another sheep area at Farmland ID 58 for $135,000. And then there are several greenhouses located right here at Farmland ID 56 for $15,920. Here's a BGA that can buy for $218,000. And when you buy the BGA land, you will also have to buy the BGA itself. Now, when you do that, you can get rid of the BGA and the silage bunkers, but there is a small shed off to the side that is going to remain. And lastly, in any alternate play mode, you can buy the kind of the unbuyable land, the outside fringes, as well as the sell points in the main town for a low price of $13,781. Let's go ahead and take a look at our farmland lease screen. The farmland lease screen shows all of the buyable farmlands, how large those farmlands are, if those farmlands include any field or fields, what is included. Then lastly, how much is that farmland going to cost us? See, the land on this map is fairly expensive. for the size compared to maybe some other maps that we have looked at recently. Now, if we go ahead and take a look at our field calculator screen, it's going to show us the specific sizes of each particular field, because we all know that the field sizes and the farm land sizes can vary drastically. Overall, we have some fairly small fields, but we do have a couple larger ones. But overall, we're looking at fields that are going to be less than 5 hectares in size. We do have the standard base game crop counter available to us, and then we do have alfalfa, which is basically mirroring the grass growth and harvest schedule. Taking a look at our prices screen, we do indeed have the ability to sell all of our base game crops that are available to us in Farm Sim 22. In addition, we do have the ability to sell our eggs, wool, and milk, as well as our silage, hay, straw, and grass. Now, when it gets down here to our production items, well, I wish the story was the same, but it is not. We do not have the ability to sell bread, nor do we have the ability to sell clothing or cereal, or how about raisins? In addition, we do not have the ability to sell chocolate. Lastly, planks and furniture are also excluded. Now, as far as other things, we can sell most other things. We do have a bulk lime buy point, and we do have a place to sell our stones. We do have alfalfa added, but there are no sell points for alfalfa, so you are going to have to use it hopefully for your animals. As far as our platinum expansion productions, we do not have the ability to sell any of the platinum expansion productions either. So if you are looking to get into those, you will need to put down your own sell points. Then lastly, with respect to pumps and hoses, we do have the ability to sell our separated manure. With respect to our vehicles, it is all new. None of it is leased, and we own everything. We do have chicken coop, cow shed, and sheep pasture, as I mentioned, in the starting farm. We do have contracts available. We do not own any production chains at the start, and the map does list itself as having 10 collectibles. Let's go ahead and take a look at our starting fleet. We start out with the Buer 6105 small tractor. We have the Massey Ferguson 6718S medium tractor and the Dutz Farr Topliner 4090H harvester. 4090H harvester is then paired up with the 4090H grain header as well as header trailer. To haul the grain, we're going to use the TDK 301 RP trailer. We've got the Diegelman Rock King 9600 rock picker as starting equipment. We also have the Speedmax 560 mulcher. The Agromaz POV 5XL plow, as well as the Lemken Samgard 9500K cultivator with a Nordstein HK 25 NS 3030 seeder and power hairbow combination. We have the Aerostar Exact 600 weeder. We have the Cumberland 4140L side mower. Then we have a not side mower, the trailed mower. We have the Pottinger Alpine Hits 4.4H tedder, as well as the GA 4731 windrower. We have the Impress 125F Pro round baler. For our front loader arms, the Q6M, we're going to be making use of the Albert pallet fork and round bale fork. We have the Transport Wagon TP500S low loader. And then we round it out with a 2300 kilogram front weight. As far as our mods and DLCs, we do not have any custom vehicles or implements that are part of this map. Here at our starting farmhouse, we have our sleep trigger here at the side door. We have our chicken coop, so we have our egg spawn point. We have our chicken buy point, 500 chickens available. Then we have our food trough. Now, as far as if you wish to customize this farmhouse area, you can sell the farmhouse. You can also sell the chicken coop, as well as the doghouse. But what you can't get rid of is the decorative stuff. The awning, the table, the chairs, the cart, the wood area, the little grill. I don't see a lot of people probably customizing this area, but just as a side, you cannot get rid of everything here at the starting farmhouse. Let's just quickly tab over to the starting farm. And the starting farm is going to cross the street. So on this side of the street, we've got a bunch of old buildings. And similar to the farmhouse, we can sell many of the buildings here on the starting farm, but what we cannot get rid of are these kind of deco elements like these wood stacks and racks, these pipes, and we're going to find other things like some lumber stacks around the corner here. Those are going to be remaining regardless if you sell the sheds or not. So lots of storage over here for vehicles and implements. And all these buildings are part of the required mods. We're going to be taking a closer look at build mode here in a little bit. Now, what's interesting is this building here, which I kind of think is kind of like being the entrance to the farm. This building is permanent. We cannot get rid of this building. It kind of wraps around. Then on the other side of this narrow road, we have the rest of our starting farm. Of our grass working equipment. Here we have our sheep pasture. 80 sheep in this area. Inside here we have where our wool is likely going to spawn. We have our food trough. We have our water trough. We have a manure heap, silage bunker for our cow building. So we have our food trough below here. Now this particular barn is set up with multiple levels. We have our milk trigger. We have our cow drop off, 120 cows in here. We have our slurry point, and then we have an upper level. This is going to be ideal for kind of storing bales and such, because then we can drop them right down to the feeding trough. And then this particular shed directly in front of us, this is also, for whatever reason, kind of permanently embedded in the map. Let's go ahead and take a look at build mode, because with the various required mods that are included, we do have kind of a substantial list of buildings and other things available if you wish to kind of expand or grow farm areas. So here we have the Bavarian Farm Buildings Pack. And then we have the Valley Farm mod. So the buildings that are embedded with the map itself. Under silos, we have Bavarian Farm silos as well as Valley Farm silo buildings. Manure extension. Fertilizer tank. And then we have farmhouses. Our custom production. We have our BGA. Sell points, we have a stone crusher. We do have some small greenhouses included with the map, and these are pre-placed kind of in central town. As I mentioned, over at Farmland ID 56. We do have some custom animal areas that are again part of the Bavarian Farm Pack and the Cow Farm Building Pack. As well as a custom chicken and custom pig areas. Fairly standard deco elements. As far as our ground textures go, fairly standard looking ground textures, but let's go ahead and put those down. So our animal mud, our asphalt, concrete, grass, dry grass, gravel, gravel dirt, gravel dust, gravel grass, gravel moss, pathway, pathway gravel, riverbed, and then wet mud. Fairly standard plants, and also fairly standard trees. So with respect to our scoring metric, as far as the farms being customizable, we're going to be giving the map a half a point because there are a fair bit of decorative elements and other things that just do not go away. So while we can get rid of a lot of these buildings, there are other areas that are just not sellable, and therefore the kind of customization is somewhat limited here at this farm, as well as over at the other sheep farm. Let's go ahead and take a look at our soil map. We do have a custom soil map here. You can see that the main starting farm is down here where we do have a kind of a decent amount of silty clay. But to the northeast, we've got a good bit of sandy loam and loamy sand. And then over here to the west, we have a nice combination of loam, silty clay, sandy loam, and such. Let's go ahead and take to the skies a little bit. Have a little bit of a look around. So here we have our main starting farm. As I mentioned, it's kind of spread between two sides of the road. And most of these buildings can be sold, but not all of the buildings can be sold. And there's a fair bit of decorative elements that are going to remain in both of these areas. So it does make kind of customization a little bit difficult. Just to the north of our starting farm, we do have a couple areas where we have grapes and olives pre-placed on the map. We have 4 greenhouses. We have our grape processing area. We have our vehicle dealer that was mentioned in the description, as well as our spinnery and cereal or sugar factory. Over here we have one of those olive groves that are pre-placed. We have our animal dealer to the extreme north. And then we might as well make our way around the eastern edge of the map. See, the map overall has a fairly round shape to it. This is our secondary farm location. I have gone ahead and purchased this land, so we'll have our triggers pop up, and we will be taking a closer look at that during the drive around portion. There's a second olive grove below. Then we're coming up to our flour mill, our dairy, as well as a sell point. Below we have a sheep area. Then we have our oil mill in here at the far south of the map. Wrapping our way around to the western side of the map to the southwest, we have a fairly large open cow pasture. We're taking a closer look at that during the drive around. A couple smaller grape orchards over here. We have a grain sell point, and then up above and behind that, we have our sawmill. And then if we loop back to town, we're going to find a fair bit of sell points, production items as well. This map has 15 production items built in. We have an oil mill, sugar mill, cereal factory. So we have an oil mill, sugar mill, spinnery, grape processing area. We have 5 greenhouses, a bakery, a dairy, a sawmill, BGA tailor, and grain mill. Now, what's really interesting about that is the fact that we have a grape processing area, but we don't have the ability to get rid of raisins. Okay. We also have a tailor, but we do not have the ability to get rid of loaves. We have a bakery, but do not have the ability to sell bread. Then we have a sawmill, but we do not have the ability to sell planks. So, would like to see the ability to sell the things that we can produce on the map that are pre-built in. Down here at the vehicle dealer, we have our trigger to buy our Mahindra. And then we do have our maintenance trigger located right here. It is a dealer trigger indeed. And our spawn point is right on top of that trigger. Interesting enough. So that's going to extend out here a little ways. We do have a fuel point also here at the dealer. And a modest size area in order to get out of the dealer. And the road's not too terrible bad with respect to things right along the edge. So it shouldn't be too awful with respect to kind of buying modest, medium-sized equipment. I wouldn't think you'd be buying lots of large machinery here on this particular map. So here we have our sugar factory. Standard base game sugar factory, so we have an interactive icon and pallet point at the front. We're going to have our dump station here around the back. Well, what is going on there? That was weird. So there is just a box, a collision. It's movable. It's an invisible collision box here. Okay. Then we have our spinnery. This is standard base game European style spinnery. So we have our pallet spawn point. We're going to find our interactive area and dump point here around on this side. Very narrow lane through town. Here we have our farmhouse and our chicken coop. And then we're going to be coming down here to a restaurant sell point, as well as our tailor here on the left. So we have our interactive point on the side. We have our wardrobe trigger on the front, our dump point, and our pallet spawn point over here around the back. We have our bakery. Again, a standard base game bakery. So we have pallet spawn point, dump point, and interactive trigger around the front. We made our way over to where our greenhouses are located. So here we have the 5 pre-placed greenhouses. So they already have product in them. We're already producing we will need to... Interesting. The list that we need to buy them, they were already pumping out product. Now that I've bought this, doesn't have any inputs. Are these also dumping out product? Well, they look like they sure will be. So that's kind of interesting how that's set up. I wonder if we wait long enough, if we would get more pallets to spawn here. Now, these are likely not set up as our pallets. It says the pallet is owned by us, but of course we bought this one. I don't know if it then converted that pallet to our ownership or not. That might be worth checking out and just seeing if you just let that run for a few days. Do you get free pallets of produce? That'd be interesting. Here we have our grape processing center. Again, fairly standard base game grape processing unit. We're going to get to that off of side street. Right there where our bakery is. And then if we turn right, it's going to take us, whoop, not there. I'm going to have to go down the road a little bit to then drive through our starting farm. So with respect to our scoring, we are going to be giving the map a full point with respect to production being built in or areas set aside for such. What are you doing? AI traffic. Earth, what do you think you're doing? With respect to the ability to sell our basing crops, production items, and animal outputs, well, we're going to be taking off 1/4 of a point because of the fact that we do not have the ability to sell bread, clothing, cereal, raisins, chocolate, planks, or furniture. So that will get just 3/4 of a point there. With respect to the farms being customizable, we kind of already talked about this. We're giving the map just a 1/2 a point because there are a fair bit of kind of decorative items and other little things kind of scattered around all of the various farm areas that we cannot get rid of. So that does limit some of the flexibility of customizing the farm. We have a bale sell point, as well as our animal dealer trigger right here. Then we're going to try to make our way up the hillside to get to the sawmill. Is just above there. Buildings where appropriate are using the new texturing technique as well as ground textures. Well, we are giving the map a little bit of a niggle there because some of the farm buildings I do not feel are using the new texturing technique. So we're going to give the map 3/4 of a point there. And then we'll leave our last scoring metric until we get a little bit further along in our driving. How do we get to the sawmill? No, I'm thinking sorry. I'm thinking about a different map. Sawmill's over here to the west. There are sawmills up on that hillside. So here we have a grain sell point, and then we have a fill point. This is somewhere where we are going to be able to buy product forage, lime, fertilizer, seed, mineral feed, total mixed rations, manure. You can buy product there. We have our stone crusher here around the corner. And then to get to our sawmill, everybody. Did I completely miss the road? Yes, I did. It's right here off to the left. Kind of hidden. Oh, we have a floaty float. Did y'all see that? In the corner of a concrete square or something. So here we have our sawmill. So we have our pallet spawn point for our planks, which we cannot sell. For our dump point, we have our wood cell trigger. We have our fill point for our wood chips. Now we can't even take our planks down and process them further at a carpentry, even if we put the carpentry in, because, well, we can't get rid of furniture either, unless we put our own cell point in. Continue to make our way around the map here. You have rolling hills on the fields. I'm not really sure what's going on with this traffic. They're seemingly kind of speeding up and slowing down at very inopportune times. So here you have a cow pasture. 200 cows in total. Go in here, we have our water trough. We have our food trough. Now, take a look at our animal area here. It says milk as an output. But if we look, we don't really have any indications as to where the milk trigger may be. Yeah, it'd be nice if we had kind of a milking robot there, or at a minimum, like a little platform that had milk jugs on it to kind of indicate where the milk trigger is. And it's just like another map that we very recently reviewed. If we look at the triggers, we also really do not see any indication as to where kind of the milk might even spawn at. So that is going to come into play when we talk about our final scoring metric of player trigger in interactive areas being clearly marked. Their oil factory. Again, this is a fairly standard base game oil factory. So we have a dump point around the side, interactive icon, and then our pallet spawn point is going to be around the back. That is also not marked. Let's continue to make our way around. Take this gravel road. This should swing us over here by the sheep area. And here you have a pond where we're going to be able to draw water. We have our sheep area. $150 sheep in total here. We do have our wool spawn point, our food, and our water trough. We'll make our way around to some more production. And a sell point. Kind of a narrow road here, the way these trees are set up. We have a sell point. And then right across the street from that, we have our dairy and flour mill. These are base game items. I don't think we really need to go into a lot of detail where those triggers are. You've probably seen these several times around. We're making our way over here to the biogas plant next. As I mentioned in the fly around, we could... Oh, we have traffic. We have an incident. All out the coppers. So as I mentioned during the flyover, we can sell the BGA. We can also sell the silage bunkers, but there is a permanent shed off in the corner. I don't think that really impedes your ability to customize the BGA if you wanted to, using either pumps and hoses or some other form of modular BGA. And then here we have the kind of secondary farm. I believe I was calling this a sheep farm, but it's actually, looks like it might be a combination sheep and pig farm. So we have pigsty, large, and sheep. So the triggers are overlapping a bit, but we have 60 sheep here. We have our food trough, out spawn point. We have a manure heap. Then we have our pigs over here. 350 pigs. Our slurry point. We have our food. We have our water. Located right there. Most likely straw trigger. And again, you can sell most of these buildings, but there are going to be various deco elements that are going to stick around that are not sellable. You can sell the fence, but you cannot sell kind of this corner of this concrete wall. There's another corner of a concrete wall that you're going to be also kind of stuck with. Let's see if we can't find a road that intersects to get back down to the BGA. And as we are making our way down to the BGA, we'll talk about kind of our scoring overall here on the map. To kind of summarize, a full point for production being built in, we're going to give the map a half a point with respect to being customizable, as well as 3/4 of a point for player and interactive areas being clearly marked. We're going to give the map 3/4 of a point for buildings using the new texturing technique, because there are buildings at the main farm that are not using the new texturing technique. We're going to give the map 3/4 of a point with respect to buildings and interactive areas. Sorry, being able to sell all our basic crops, Russian items, and animal outputs. Here we have our BGA. This is the shed over here to the right that is permanently affixed. Then we can get rid of the BGA itself here, as well as the 3-sided silage bunker. So again, you've got a fairly good area here to work with as far as customizing things. So that's going to give this map a total score of 3.75 out of 5. There's just little areas here and there that I would like to see improved a little bit. You know, I would like to see the ability to sell everything that at a minimum you can make on the map as far as production is being built in. But it is also very nice to always be able to produce and sell everything that is included in the base game. I would like to see the ability to sell everything at the various farms, including some of those decorative elements that are remaining. And then, of course, having some of these mystery triggers being more clearly indicated would go a long way in bumping this score probably up to about a 4.5 out of 5. Let me know your all's thoughts down in the comments below with respect to the Valley Farm map. Is this a map that you're interested in giving a go? What do you think of its circular architecture and overall how things are laid out? And until next time, happy farming.